We've shifted a slightly similar approach to yourself, actually, in terms of I really believe in the personal branding and that sort of things and the founder-led content. So you'll see I go through little waves of my content on LinkedIn. It changes, it varies a little bit. But we've just launched a new podcast, True Conversations, and the premise behind that is to speak to revenue leaders, speak to sales, marketing, founders, CEOs, revenue people that have a target and have a responsibility to deliver revenue for their business. And the idea of that is, one, we get to speak to these people and understand what the challenges are. But two, it creates great content that we can share on all our socials, and that is increasing. But at the same time as that, obviously, we're doing our own outreach in terms of our own prospecting, but it's laser focused on the clients we really think we can help, that we can add the most value to. And it's not like a hard sales pitch. It's just like we're helping similar customers in your vertical. This is how I help them. Would it be of interest? It's as simple as that. It's not like a hard sales pitch.
Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where we go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Tom Happe, founder of TrueLeads. How you doing, Tom?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No, I appreciate you coming on. Let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey, what made you start your own business, and give us an overview of what your role looks like today at TrueLeads.
Thanks, Stefan. So yeah, my background before TrueLeads was sales. So I've been in sales for nearly 20 years. I did the traditional sort of millennial thing where you get encouraged to go to university, do a business degree, come out of university and not really know what you want to do. So I ended up getting into sales, started at the bottom in terms of business development and cold calling, and worked for a number of different companies. Ended up getting into cybersecurity and really started to flourish within that environment. It was a very good market. It was exciting. I worked for a number of really good vendors and went on a bit of a 10-year journey to climb that sort of corporate ladder. So I just had it in my mind. I was very ambitious, very driven. I wanted to earn the money and I wanted to climb that corporate ladder really quickly. So within 10 years, I went from sort of an internal BDR to a VP of sales within cybersecurity. Started managing teams, started managing a whole sort of sales organization, and loved it. I had a really successful career in it. I've changed jobs quite a few times, and there was lots of highs and lows, but it was good fun. There was a lot of travel, earned good money, like supporting my family, and it was a very successful career. But the whole time during that, as we were saying a minute ago, you start looking at ways you can improve things. In every single company I was at, whether that was in cybersecurity or the other jobs I had before, I was always thinking I should do this myself. I should have my own business, and I always had that burning desire to go and do it. But I never quite had the guts to go and quit the corporate world and go and get into it. So although I had all these ideas and all these different schemes I was working on in the background, I continued on the corporate route. But luckily in 2020, lockdown hit, and although I was sort of planning my escape from the corporate world, lockdown forced me into it because I got made redundant. And at the time, I had a young family and a lot of responsibilities, but I had to do something. Is either get another job in the height of a pandemic or finally try and build my own business. So I decided on the latter and thought this is a great opportunity to set up my own business. I essentially had nothing to lose, Stefan. So I originally set up a cybersecurity sort of consultancy business called True Cyber. Started helping people evaluate solutions, etc. But on the side of that, I started to help vendors and organizations do the hardest bit of the job in sales, which was getting in front of the right people. Started helping them generate leads, mostly through LinkedIn, like the social selling piece. And that took off. In the first couple of years, it really, really took off. We signed up a lot of different cybersecurity vendors, expanded the business, parked the cybersecurity consultancy bit and went all in on the TrueLeads piece. And then since then, it's been a bit of a roller coaster of a journey in terms of hiring, firing, growing the team, scaling it down, pivoting, changing the business. But 6 years later, we're still going. We're we're stronger than ever. We're starting to build out more AI and more automation, but there's still, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what's going on in business, whatever vertical you're in, whatever size business you're in, you're always going to need leads. There's always going to be a need to get the right connections and the right people. So we are continuing on that mission, and I think more than ever, people need that human connection and getting hold of the right people. So that's a real short scenario of what's happened the last few years. But
Yeah, no, it's an incredible story. It's something that, you wanted to do, and then sort of the pandemic, which is kind of like, a tragedy of a sort, like the world sort of stopping actually forced you, but it's actually made you actually start your own business, and is that, become successful in something that you wanted to do before, but maybe wasn't going to end up doing it until something forced you, or till circumstances, change, type of thing. How do you feel like getting into sales so early and, has helped you now come into the entrepreneurial sort of life, because everybody says, sales, you need sales to be able to do anything in life. To get anything in life, really, you need sales. And, having that experience before, how has that helped you now?
I would say it's critical to the business wouldn't be anywhere without my sales and my network and the experience I had. And there's a big part of me that wishes I'd started all of this sooner. I'd even at an early age, before university, before my job, I've always been quite entrepreneurial. I've always wanted to do it, but I just got encouraged by society and parents and things to go to university and go the right route. But there's a big part of me that wishes I'd started this earlier. But without all that experience of working for those, different sales companies, working for the bad sales managers, trying to cold call 100 people in a day, all those challenges that I had are what's helped build TrueLeads, because I've learned all that, and then that's what I'm trying to do, is help people that go through that journey. So without that, TrueLeads wouldn't exist. And to your point around sales, I think you know this. You see so many great companies that have amazing products and services and great founders and great technology, but they can't sell it. It's useless. It's sort of sales is the fundamental to any business, I think. And if you can get a great product and a great sales momentum, even better. But I think having the ability to sell and have a great network and be trustworthy and be able to communicate with people is the skill that you need to grow any business.
And obviously, from doing sales for so long, the importance of actually getting the right people in front of you to be able to do that, to be able to actually sell to them. So obviously, that's been a pivotal part of TrueLeads. How does TrueLeads ensure, or have a high percentage of getting the right people in front of you?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So again, through my sales career, I always had this problem. Like my first ever sales job, it was actually an electrical wholesale, and it was like I had a company car, and I was targeted on going out to electrical contractors, etc. But I went towards the universities and different. But essentially, the bottom line is I was targeting the wrong people. I was targeting the wrong market that for that business, and through my whole career, that sort of like kept coming up. Like I'd join a sales team, and one team would be doing great because the product really fit in that market, and I would be selling into like education or public sector where it didn't quite fit, but I was still successful. So all through my career, that has been a theme, and even in the early stages of TrueLeads, when you start a business, you do naturally deal with some of the wrong clients, and because you get a momentum, you're testing what works, and sometimes you sign up the wrong clients and not the right fit, they're the wrong size or the wrong persona, etc. So to help with that now, obviously with AI, with automation, with a lot of the tools you have, it's easier than ever to do that. But the thing you need to do is actually sit down and work that out, and we did that, even quite recently. We analyzed with AI, looking at all of our past customers, the ones that aren't, have churned, that aren't with us, which percentage of those were our right ideal client. And off the back of that, there was quite a few that weren't. So it's a continuous process, and I don't think you can get it perfect, especially when you're a startup that's been bootstrapped and you've only got so much time and resource. But it's something you just have to actually sit down and think about it in terms of who's your ideal client, who's going to buy it, what challenges do they have budget for it, and are they the right fit? And I think sometimes when you're growing and scaling the business, you forget that and you can sign up a lot of the wrong clients and get very busy servicing the wrong types of clients that ultimately aren't going to be with you forever. So it's for any startup out there is critical. You're better off having less clients that are the right fit than more that are the wrong fit. So
No, definitely. So say, just to get a little bit of background in what TrueLeads does for founders, companies. I know I've read obviously on your website, it's very, LinkedIn is it's a big platform for all B2B. And how are you utilizing that to be able to get people, bookings to, calls booked in and that social selling side?
yeah, so again, LinkedIn, without LinkedIn, we probably wouldn't have a business, if I'm honest. It has been pivotal to that. In the early days, especially, most of the leads and conversations came from my network and my brand, etc. So that's why I like doing things like this. I share a fair amount of content. I'm not saying, I'm not an influencer by any stretch of imagination, but I've over the years built up the right connections and always believed in LinkedIn as a great platform. When I was in sales, I was using it pretty effectively. One, just to build list of target, personas, people I wanted to reach out to, but I would introduce myself. I would, not necessarily selling to them, but if it was my ideal prospect, I would introduce myself like you would at a networking event and have a conversation with them. I'd very rarely pitch to them or push products down their throat, but I would introduce myself and tell them what I've been doing and how I could potentially help. And that's actually over time like compounded because I built such a good network that now I still get business from it today. So I think if you're a founder in sales, marketing, anybody that's doing any sort of business or outreach, you need to be on LinkedIn. It's essentially like going to a networking event every single day. You can share one piece of content, you get 1,000 people view it. That's brilliant. You're not going to do 1,000 calls in a day, right? So it's a way to get your brand out there. So I think any sales professional, especially now with AI, that's not embracing it is I think they're going to get left behind. And I'm not saying the traditional methods don't work. Like we still do calling, we still do emails, we still do all the other approaches, but the ones that are really standing out are the ones that are really, utilizing their personal brand and using social selling to get the right connection. So big believer in it. And I think, we help a lot of sales people, a lot of founders do exactly that. Without being an influencer, but just connecting with the right people, building your right audience, and sharing the right content to them at the right time.
No, definitely. I think it's innately invaluable. It's invaluable. Do you know what I mean? And to be having that, if you can build up your following and use like AI to be able to find out who's talking about different topics that you sort of service and things like that, I feel like it's so valuable to anybody.
Yeah, it's critical, I think. Yeah, just on that bit as well. I think a lot of companies obviously try and embrace it as well. So you get like a lot of companies or marketing especially, they see the value in it, and I think it's just a missing element to the whole sales process because I see so many great teams and especially like enterprise, mid-enterprise sales, they create all this great content and webinars and events and all this great stuff. But if you can actually get that distributed via your team, via LinkedIn, via social selling, it's a much warmer approach than just smashing out a load of emails or running cold calling. It's a warmer approach. So we try and not only help individuals do that, but like teams of people engage with the audience at the right time. And the thing is, well, it's a long-term process. Like some of the I had one the other day where it was literally, hey Tom, I've been following you for the last 4 or 5 years. I'd like to have a chat. And he'd been following me. He never commented on any of my posts, never really messaged me, never liked any of my posts, but he'd been following in the background, seeing the posts, and then suddenly come out the woodwork and there was an opportunity. So that's the power of it. You can't necessarily see it all the time, but there's people on there that they're following your journey, they're seeing what you're doing, and you want to be front of mind when they do have a project or a question.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of vanity metrics, really, because you can see all the metrics of people interacting with your post, but you don't actually know how many people are seeing it. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
normally much more than what you're seeing maybe on analytics. It could be so much more by continuously putting out good content and having a following there, you like what can happen then? You're having people that have followed you for 5 years that never actually commented on you. So how many more people are seeing you?
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you're a salesperson, for example, you're not going to necessarily, you don't need to be an influencer. You don't need 100,000 followers on it. You might need 4 to 5,000 followers of really good prospects and people in your market. Because most salespeople, I've changed verticals and things, but eventually over time you end up in a specialized role, or you're in one vertical, one market, but then you're building your network with that every single day over your career. It compounds. So it's something I don't think people are doing enough, but I think they need to, because it's going to get noisier and noisier on LinkedIn, and it's going to be harder to stand above that. So yeah, LinkedIn's been pivotal essentially.
Okay, Tom. So now we've got, a bit of background of how you started and what TrueLeads is. What are the biggest trends that you're seeing in the market today?
Yeah, so you'll know this. Obviously, AI is the hot topic, and I think every year I've done this, there has been a hot topic of the years, like crypto or whatever. But AI is the thing for the last couple of years. It's obviously taken the world by storm, and you can't look on LinkedIn without seeing anything around it. So the main trends I'm seeing is teams trying to utilize AI in the right way in terms of where it sits best. Um, but also, I think there's been a big shift to the human element, because I do think people are getting fed up of the automated AI driven emails and LinkedIn messages and the spammy approach. So actually, being human, being yourself, having conversations like this face to face is becoming, USP, which actually is just normal business to me. But actually, just speaking to people, having conversations on the phone, meeting people at events, that human element is rising above the AI, which is something that AI can't do. So the trends are really utilizing AI to do all the heavy lifting, the stuff we talked around earlier in terms of your data, your internal systems. Like, for example, we've scaled the team back in terms of our headcount, but we've automated a lot more in the background with AI that you couldn't do a year ago. But at the same time, the front end of that, in terms of engaging with our customers and helping our customers, is human. In terms of the follow-up messages, the calling, that's a human element. The trends we're seeing is how to sort of balance AI and the human interaction, essentially. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like when trends sort of come and go and they swing one way and then swing the other way, like people, when automation first came out, it was probably like everybody was trying to automate everything, and then it sort of goes the other way where people, in the terms of the front end, and then sort of people then get a little bit annoyed with seeing, AI generated content or AI generated emails and things like that, and then they start going back the other way, and then that's how you stand out when then and I feel like in the AI generation that we're in, I suppose, I feel like human connections are going to become so much more valuable because the demand is going to be there and the supply of it is going to be sort of strangled a little bit. So like obviously the less supply, more demand, I feel like the value of human connection is only going to go up.
exactly, and you see it all the time. Like, I think I saw yesterday that all the big AI companies are hiring more salespeople than ever. They're hiring humans to go and sell the AI. So there's your answer for you, right? So it's still going to be valuable, especially in B2B tech, enterprise, mid-enterprise. You're not, the early funnel side of things and the data. Yes, AI is fantastic, but actually picking up the phone, having a conversation, meeting somebody, I think that's where the real value lies, because it is human to human interaction that makes a difference.
Yeah, no, and I don't think AI is ever, I say ever, you don't ever know, but I just don't feel like human connection is very hard to be mimicked, and that to be able to sell, as being in sales for so long, is so much little things that you watch out for, little sort of body language and tones and all these different types of selling strategies, but also selling techniques that I feel like can only, well, right now it can only be done really well, I feel like, by a human. Do you know what I mean? You never know what the future's going to hold, with it.
It's trust as well, and relationships. Like that, a lot of the companies I work with, they work with channel partners and distributors, and there's a whole ecosystem, but it's built on trust, it's built on relationships, it's built on, going out for dinner and relationships and playing golf, and like years of relationships with people. I spoke to an old sales contact yesterday, and he said, he still knows people from 20 years ago that and he's had those relationships his whole career, and that's something you can't replicate. So it's leading into that. But obviously, that's the trends change all the time now with AI, don't they? Like it's moving faster than ever. And I think running a business, in the last 6 years, every year it's changed, and you have to pivot and adjust. I think for any business owner now, you just have to be willing to do that quicker than ever before. And I could be sat here in 2 months' time, and it could change again. So I think you just got to have that mindset of it's going to change. You have to pivot, or you don't survive. So.
Being adaptable now is like a must. I feel like in this day and age, with AI, but also even the last 20 years, since social media. Do you know what I mean? You think 20 years ago there was no LinkedIn. Do you know what I mean? Or any of these other things. So I feel like it's now more. You have to adapt more quickly, of course. But over the past sort of 20 years, I feel like it's just been a lot of different adaptations, and it's only getting more. So, Tom, what is working well, and where do you feel slight friction at TrueLeads?
Um, well, in terms of the business or the market or
Business.
business internally. So, yeah, the challenge you have, this links back to your question earlier around sales, right? So, the challenge I've always had is being good at sales, or having a skill set in sales is great, and it does open the doors. But when it's your own business, and you've obviously got to service that demand and those companies, and that's always been my challenge, is the delivery, the infrastructure, the in the background, right? Because I could sell all day long. I could, it's comes natural, and got my network, and there's a lot of companies we could help. But behind the scenes, you obviously want to provide a world-class service behind that. So the challenge has always been keeping up with the demand of what we're doing. There's huge demand for what we're doing. We have a waiting list of customers in different verticals where they want our help, but there's only so much you could do. So the challenge, especially when you're bootstrapped, is to how do you keep up with that demand, and don't scale the business too quickly? Because we have done that. I'll be honest, we have got to the stage where we scaled the business, the demand what was not keeping up with the delivery, if you know what I mean. So you're hiring and you're trying to keep up with it, and then things sort of break down a little bit. So I'm at the stage now where the business is lean. Like I said, we've automated a lot of it. We've built a lot of AI, and I don't think you need to build a huge team now. I think you can keep things very lean, but you want to build a business that's stable and grows at the right pace as such. So that's the biggest challenge, is keeping up with that, and building that delivery function in an ever-changing AI-driven world. Do you go and hire 3 people to do this when you could actually build an agent that does a lot of it yourself? So it's that sort of balance between how you grow the team effectively. And I think the old sort of playbooks and some of the books here you read around scaling a business and growing different teams and things, not that they're irrelevant, but I think it has changed, because you see people now, as you do, you see people that are doing tens of millions with a very small, lean team that's automated with AI and agents. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge, is the supply and demand, and keeping up with the sales side of things.
Especially because you started in sales. That's your whole. That's where your background is. So that there's never been the problem actually getting the people in the door, but
Yeah.
to be able to keep up with delivery, with the bandwidth, and to keep the quality of a delivery up. I feel like lots and lots of businesses are struggling with that, and they want to scale up, but by scaling up it could mean hiring more people. You don't really want to hire more people, because either now or soon AI will be able to handle that specific job. So I feel like lots of people are in similar sort of position with as you, in the sense of getting the sales is not the problem. It's just actually been increasing that bandwidth without increasing the headcount.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. And when I worked for these companies before, you just sold. Your job was to sell the deal and move on and go and do the next one. That was the job. So to transition from that to being a founder, to not just selling but delivering and keeping the customers happy and everything, is a different skill set altogether. So, but it's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. It's one of the better problems to have. I have to agree. What's working well at TrueLeads, like specifically, or like, yeah, specifically working well?
I'd say, yeah, more recently, exactly that in terms of, yeah, some of the automations, the things we built, like before you couldn't do it, like the reporting, the data, analytics, all those sort of things. Obviously now we automate that with some AI agents and things. The targeting and the quality of the data and things is vastly improved, even in the last 3 to 6 months. So that's really good. I think obviously the demand's still there, the challenge is still there, but we're hyper focused on the clients we go after now in terms of what you said earlier around your ICP. So obviously my background was in cybersecurity, so there's a good network and business there. But we branched out into other areas like ERP and technology, but we're trying to keep it a bit more narrow, a bit more focused. So we're specialised in those areas because they're such big markets on their own. You don't need to necessarily jump around for different markets. So what's helping is being super lean, really focused on our ICP and our customers, and delivering an exceptional service to the clients you already have as well. I think when you start a business, and when any business, a bigger business I worked on, there's always a demand for like new business. When actually you've got a really nice set of accounts there already that have a huge potential to expand. And although there's all these fantastic tools and things you can do to gain new customers, looking after the ones you have and growing the ones you have is becoming more critical than ever because it's so hard to sign up a new client. When you get them, you need to retain them and look after them and grow them and develop them over time. And it's something when you're a smaller business, you don't necessarily have the time to do that, but it's critical in because you're not going to grow otherwise, right? So that's what's working well.
Yeah, no, it's like instead of scaling upwards, it's almost scaling outwards. Do you know what I mean? Like servicing the clients you've got now for more things, and you've already built that relationship with them. The trust is already there. Everything's already there to be able to then say, actually, we can help you with X and Y. I know we're already helping you with Z, but we can also help you with X and Y.
Exactly.
So, Tom, walk me through your client acquisition process. How does TrueLeads gain clients?
So yeah, we've shifted a slightly similar approach to yourself actually, in terms of I really believe in the personal branding and that sort of things and the founder-led content. So you'll see I go through little waves of my content on LinkedIn. It changes, it varies a little bit, but we've just launched a new podcast, True Conversations, and the the premise behind that is to speak to revenue leaders, speak to sales, marketing, founders, CEOs, revenue people that have a target and have a responsibility to deliver revenue for their business. And the idea of that is one, we get to speak to these people and understand what the challenges are. But two, it creates great content that we can share on all our socials, and that is increasing. But at the same time as that, obviously, we're doing our own outreach in terms of our own prospecting, but it's laser focused on the clients we really think we can help, that we can add the most value to. And it's not like a hard sales pitch. It's just like we're helping similar customers in your vertical. This is how I help them. Would it be of interest? It's as simple as that. It's not like a hard sales pitch. And I think I want to stand above, the LinkedIn and the lead gen market is obviously can be quite saturated. It can be quite, I've come across some terrible businesses in the past, and that's hence the name TrueLeads. It's around that honesty and the integrity. And I just want to sort of rise above the noise a little bit in that sense and have some integrity in what we're doing and that trust level, because there's a lot of businesses that don't have that. They will charge you a nice retainer for 6 months and not deliver, and you won't see them ever again, and I want to build something a bit more long term and stable. So it is, yeah, founder led content. The podcast, I'm hoping, similar to yourself, will help drive a lot more conversations and awareness and inbound inquiries. And then the bigger focus, as I just mentioned, is to grow organically through the clients we already have, referrals of the clients we have, and grow slower but with the right client base. So yeah, that's our approach.
Definitely a multifaceted approach, and with one underlying thing is, it's you're trying to serve them, and with human connection, as opposed to, like you say, you see some lead gen agencies and they're like, I'll get you 5 discovery calls free by the end of the day, and it's like, how targeted are those calls? Who do they know who I am? Do I even want to have a conversation with this person? Do you know, a lead, a lead isn't the same value as every other lead. Do you know what I mean? There's value to each different leads, and the more human connection is built into that, I feel like the better the conversation will go, and the better, the relationship will be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, you get to the stage where, especially now with AI and the research you can do and things like, sometimes a client might not be a good fit for us. If it doesn't always work. It's sometimes really hard if you're a startup in a really tough market and you haven't got marketing and awareness. It's a really really hard campaign to run. But there's certain aspects we look for that we know that if they need our help, that it will be successful because they've got the right ingredients to make that work. And that's on our side to make sure that, again, we don't sign up the wrong clients for the wrong reason. That we're quite selective on who it's going to work for. So.
No, definitely. So, Tom, my last two questions are: where do you want to be in terms of business in the next 12 to 18 months?
Good question as well. So it's I think, so any advice to anyone that's listening to this that's just starting a business, maybe yourself, is there's many different types of business that you can build, right? And I think I've always had the ambition to own my own business and run my own business, but didn't realize there's so many ways you can do it. You could be a solopreneur and sell a course and have a great lifestyle. You could also, we could go and get loads of funding and build platforms and take it big time. But I think my ambition's somewhere in the middle of that, in terms of I want freedom and time with my family. I've got a young family and things. That's really important to me at the moment. So I want TrueLeads to to sort of mirror that, in terms of having a great lifestyle for me and the people that work here, and have a great lifestyle that they enjoy, that they come to work with, but that we're profitable, we're respected in the industry, and grow at the right pace. Yes, I'm ambitious, but not to the sacrifice of enjoying the journey of what we're going on. So I'd like to think in 2 years time, we're looking back, or 18 months time, that TrueLeads is really well respected in the industry, that we're growing, we're a good place to work, and eventually, maybe down the line, there's potential for, I don't know, an exit or something on the horizon, that TrueLeads has gone on its journey, and that's it. But it needs to be at the right time, at the right, the right point in the journey.
No, I think your answer there is very relatable, and what's the words, like, currency isn't always in money. I feel like, Jim, we're here to live a life as well. Do you know what I mean? And having that time back to spend with your family and your loved ones is also just as valuable, if not more valuable, than
Right.
creating a business that's like making billions, or making crazy numbers. Do you know what I mean? But if that then makes you sacrifice the time with your family, time away from that business, then how valuable is that? Because, as we all know, you can't take it with us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's another part of the reason. I think, yeah, if I started this when I was 20 years old, without the kids and stuff, it might be a completely different ball game. Like, running the business with kids and without kids is a completely different game, like completely different. But at the moment, yeah, that's really really important to me. But it builds a great lifestyle and a great business, not just for me, but for my employees and all the people associated with TrueLeads. It's like that integrity. And the other thing as well is, a lot of that comes from when I was in sales, because sales is an amazing job. Like, when it's going well, it's the best job in the world, because you got freedom, you meet great people, you go on great incentives and trips, you earn good money, you have fun. It's a great job. It's really really good. So it's yeah, I don't see any reason you can't build a business that's just as fun to work in. So
Definitely. So, Tom, my last question is: if you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing in your business, what would it be and why?
that's a good question as well. Um, I'd say, yeah, back to the thing around the delivery and I'm not that technical, or I'm a salesperson, and I understand how these things work, like the AI and the automation I understand how it should all work. But having somebody, and maybe it's like a co-founder or somebody that could help with that side of things. It's the opposite to me, and we've had a couple of people that have come into the business and done elements of that, and it was maybe the wrong timing, but they helped get the business to the next stage. But I think if I could wave the magic wand, it may be that, like somebody that's in it with me, that could help, because being a solo founder is bloody hard work. And then those weeks you're having a tough week, or it's not going so well, it's only me I need to look at. But I think, and I never realized this as well, like when you start a business, is why would you have a co-founder, or why would you have somebody that you think actually is so valuable, There's somebody that's got the opposite skill set in terms of, not get me wrong, I've got some great people that are great operators and delivery and customer success and automation, and they're really good in their areas, but somebody to share the load with in terms of growing the business to that next level would be the key.
Yeah, no, definitely share it. It's like you say, when you said what would be the point in that, is just sharing, and it's sharing the load. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sharing that load
and the success and the fun of it, and the growth. So I've obviously got big ambitions for it, but it's better to do that together rather than on your own. So yeah, that would probably be the major thing.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed our conversation and really loved having you on the podcast. Where can my viewers and listeners reach out to you, or to TrueLeads, if they're wanting to work with you?
So yeah, thanks for having me in, Stefan. Great to meet you. And yeah, if you want to find me, best place is probably LinkedIn. So Tom Happe. So it's Tom Happe. There's not many Tom Happes on there, so you'll find me. Or go to TrueLeads.com. And we're on all the socials, YouTube, and all the other socials. So, but best place is probably LinkedIn.
And what's your podcast called, and where can people find that?
It's called True Conversations, and you can find it on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And it gets released every 2 weeks. So the next one's on the 30th.
Well, there you have it, everybody. You know how to reach Tom. And also, once you finish checking out this podcast, go over to his YouTube channel or Spotify channel and check out Tom's podcast, True Conversations. Tom, again, thank you. And everybody that's listening, watching, please like, comment, subscribe, send to a friend, and we'll see you next time.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, mate.